Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of our Moto Cult mystery box accessory install video. What we're going to install today is a new throttle and cable assembly. And this is a short pull throttle that they've come up with. So the amount of twist you have to do to the throttle should be shortened quite a bit. I'm going to install new grips as well. I'm not going to cut these off. I'm going to remove them and save them, but I've been needing an excuse to install brown grips on the bike, so we're going to install those at the same time. Now, I've never actually replaced a throttle before. It's just something I've never had to do, so this will be a learning experience for me, and I'm just winging it. So I haven't watched any videos on how to do this. I'm just taking my best guess. And like I said, I'm using my onboard toolkit for the bike. I try to do every maintenance item or things like this using just the tools that I normally carry on the bike. So if I do have if I'm out in the wild and have a situation where I need tools, I know exactly what I've got and I know exactly what they fit. So I try to use my onboard toolkit for all of this sort of thing. So this top bolt I need to remove completely. Then there's a bottom bolt I'll have to run to the other side of the bike to get to that one. And you don't take it all the way out. You just kind of loosen it up and give it enough space to slide the assembly off, basically. But this top one has to come all the way out. Okay, so hopefully that's enough to get this worked off here. So we got that loose, and I probably shouldn't have done both hose clamps on the intake, but too late now, they're already loose. So we got to get this loose. So we want to make sure nothing goes flying. So I'm going to compress everything here, pull the cable out the side that way, and just hang on to everything as I pull them apart. So there's a little plastic spacer, you don't want it to go flying. So we've got our pieces here, we have a loose cable. Now we can see about pulling it through. So I've got a zip tie here that I need to cut. Cut this zip tie. All right, so at this point, I don't know how much you guys have gotten to see of this, because the camera overheated. It is 104 degrees, and the camera has overheated. So what I'm doing now is pulling the stock throttle cable through, so it is free. Now we have to remove the throttle assembly itself. All right, so there it is. Original throttle assembly off. And I had to make a couple of changes to this right out of the box. And this might be a prototype, so I can't really say. First thing I changed was the barrel adjuster was anodized bright red. And I didn't want something bright red sticking out like a sore thumb. So I ordered a new black barrel adjuster off of Amazon's 10mm thread, just pop it right in. The other thing was this had like a brushed Nibby logo right on top. So as it sits on the bike, it would have been staring me right in the face. And I hate logos and things like that, so I've blacked that out. We're just going to slide that. I'm going to take some of this other stuff loose just to see the fitment of how this is going to work out. That looks like about it. And I might back that off because the other one you can't do that. So yeah, that might need to go back that way. So I'm going to keep that loose for now. So let's run the cable back the way it came through. Feed that through the wiring tray. You guys have to stay in the shade because of the heat. So I'm sorry you don't get to see this part. Once that's on, I'll slide the rubber boot back down, seal the carburetor up. Make sure this is correct. Now we can put the slide spring the needle and everything back together. Like I said, I'm sorry you guys don't get a close-up shot of this. All right, so throttle assembly's on, cable's on, carb is on. Now I need to loosen up everything on this side so I can get that grip off. So I got to get some WD-40 up under it, peel the grip back, get some WD-40 under it, work it off. One grip is off. I don't need to do the other side because it came off with the throttle. All right, so we've got our new grips, and one side is going to be bigger than the other. The bigger side goes to the throttle side, so we'll set that off by itself. And what I'm doing different this time is I've never used WD-40 to put grips on, but that's the instructions that came with the built wheel grips. So this is going to take 24 hours to cure, so I have to wait to ride the bike tomorrow. So you guys will see that in a few minutes. But I've never done it this way. I've always used like hairspray because it dries fast. With some hillbilly sauce, slide her in. I don't know if the WD-40 is any easier, I'll say that. All right, we are on. Holy shit. All right, that was more difficult than I expected. It took almost an hour to wrestle those two grips on in this heat. I'm going to stop the video. I'm going inside and sitting down in front of a fan in front of the AC with an ice tray or something, and I'm going to cool off, and I'll see you in a time. So I've got everything kind of snugged back into place, but it's still loose. I'm just feeling the controls, seeing where everything is lined up at. All right, so everything should be together. Just got to make an adjustment on the cable, and I'm in a rush because if you see behind me, it is going to rain pretty soon. So I've got the gas turned back on, fuel flowing back to the carburetor. Cross your fingers. I want to turn the handlebars, make sure there's no change in the idle. So I want to go lock to lock. So that means nothing is snagged. I'm still exhausted. I exerted myself getting those grips on way more than I should have. All right. So I'm going to get Bimbo back under cover before this rain hits. Then after work tomorrow, we'll go for a ride. So I'll see you in a few minutes, actually. Be right back. Well, all right, we are back 24 hours later. Grips should be cured by now. And I'll tell you what, those things whipped my ass. It was hot out here yesterday, and I spent almost an hour wrestling these things, trying to get them on. And I'm gonna be ticked because I thought of something earlier today while I was at work. I was like, because I ordered 7/8 inch grips, assuming my bars were 7/8 inch. I haven't measured them, but if I measure those things and they're 1 inch, I'm gonna be so ticked at myself. That could explain why they were so difficult to get on. One thing I forgot to mention about the throttle assembly is this will not fit the stock Janus Halcyon carburetor. This is only for if you have the 28 or 32 millimeter Nibby carburetor from Moto Cult, this will work. So if you have like the stage 4 kit, things like that, it'll work. But not on a stock bike. So we're gonna fire this thing up and we're gonna go through town just so we can hit some stoplights and things like that. See how that short throw really works out. And I'm hoping, with it being so short, that stumble spot that I have mentioned before is, the old throttle may have spent like too much time at that range. So hopefully this goes over that spot, and I don't have that little stumble no more. So we'll see once we get out on a 55-mile-an-hour road. We'll do some different speeds and see if that makes any difference. So let's go downtown, and I'll see you at the next stoplight. All right, so we are in downtown Buena Vista, heading north at the moment. Yeah, I can tell that it doesn't take a whole lot of movement to get things going again, where before I felt like I really had to twist it. This is less than half the range that the other one had. So it's a little more touchy. It doesn't take as much effort to get things going. And I'm not used to it, so it's kind of catching me out a little bit. Probably should have shifted down right there. Yeah, so coming through town, I think I'm a little bit jerky with it. I think that's just because I'm not accustomed to it yet. Oh no, a bump. Oh no, what am I going to do? Yami Noob says I can't do that. So the bike will explode or something. Alright, so it's going to turn to 55 right here after this light. And I'm going to try to explore around and find that spot. The flat spot in the carburetor. I'm going to back off and let everybody get out ahead of me there. Let them move on. So what we're listening for is a little stumble. Try to gradually go up from 50, 55 or so, see if I find it. So far it's not doing it. So let's continue on. Okay, hopefully you guys heard those little stumbles right there. I found it at about 68 or 58 miles an hour and just barely off of idle. And it didn't last long, because like I said, the rotation of this throttle, the shorter pull on it, means the window of opportunity for it to do that is much smaller. I've just got to barely be giving it throttle for it to do that. So that is the Moto Cult short pull throttle for the modified Halcyon 250s. Said it's going to take me a little bit to get used to it, because it feels a little twitchy at the moment. And I think that's just going to take me some time to get used to it, because the other pull on the other throttle was more than double what this one is. So if this is the sort of thing you're looking for, give Moto Cult a call. Find them on their website. I'll put a link in the description box. Make sure you buy the right size grips. Take care, and I'll catch you guys next time.